Seven Bart here, and welcome to another installment of Compare and Contrast. And what am I going to be comparing and contrasting? 101 Dalmatians. Everyone knows the Disney animated classic from 1961, but then there's the underrated live-action remake in 1996, which is also from Disney. They both have the same plot, but each one is quite different. But which one do I like? Well, let's start off by going over the human heroes, which are Roger and Anita. In the old, we have Ben Wright voicing Roger and Lisa Davis voicing Anita. And in the new, we have Jeff Daniels as Roger and Jolie Richardson as Anita. The two for each film are good couples, but each of them are different. In the old, Roger is a musician whose only hit song is Cruella de Vil. In the new, Roger is a video game designer whose only hit game is with having Cruella as the villain. Anita in the old has some kind of unexplained job with Cruella, while in the new, she works as a fashion designer for Cruella. So for the jobs they have, it looks like the new one got it down. But how about the relationship? Well, again, I'll go with the new, mostly because there's more time to them to develop their romance, where in the old they just meet and are together. Just like most Disney animated films. But the thing that's never brought up is that in the old, Anita never figures out what Cruella is going to do with the puppies, where in the new one she does. That's one big flaw with the old one, since Anita never explains her line of work. But if her work is connected with Cruella, then what would it be? So of course the obvious winner is the new one, mainly for their jobs and their relationship. The new wins. Now let us get into the villains, which are Cruella de Vil, Horace, and Jasper. In the old, Cruella is voiced by Betty Lou Gerson, Jasper is voiced by J. Pat O'Malley, and Horace is voiced by Frederick Lorlock. I've already talked about Cruella on my top 10 favorite animated Disney villain list, so you can look into that. But still, she's a good villain, with her memorable quotes, design, and voice. As for Jasper and Horace, they are both funny henchmen, with their Cockney accents and simple yet cliched designs and personalities of the tall and skinny and smart one and the short and fat and dumb one. But in the new, we have Glenn Close as Cruella, Hugh Laurie as Jasper, and Mark Williams as Horace. Now the henchmen are good and fun, having the same traits as the original, minus the big noses and both being British. As for Cruella, well, I thought she's fun and all, but she's wicked fun and all. She does bring out the evil charm of the original, but somehow she's more fun than the original. Her laugh's more contagious, her dialogue's more fun, and she even dresses in more outfits than the original. So even though I like the villains in the original, the new one brings more fun to them. And by the way, I'm not including taxidermist Al Skinner, played by Judge Scrapnell, in the new one since he's not in the old one. The new wins. Next up is the animals, which are the Dalmatians and the barn animals who help rescue the puppies. In the old, we have Rod Taylor voicing Pongo, Kate Bauer voicing Perdita, David Frankham voicing Sergeant Tibbs, J. Pat O'Malley voicing Colonel, Thurl Ravenscroft voicing Captain, just to name a few. In the new, it's just animals. Trained animals, that is. And while the old has them talk, the new one doesn't, which is part of the problem with it. The animals in the new mostly use body motions and actions to carry the story. And sometimes it works, like when the puppies are stolen, Perdita just walks up to her bed and lays down. It kind of almost made me cry. But then, there's not much character or personality to the animals aside from one or two of them, which is done much better in the old film. Almost all the animals have a character and personality, like how 3 of the barn animals are like military men, bringing up orders and sometimes being fun. But where in the old one, the cat goes out to rescue the puppies, the new one has a dog rescue the puppies, while the barn animals distract the villains. And while the Dalmatians in the new don't have much character, the old one does. And since the females get blue collars and males get red collars in the old, it's reversed in the new. Okay, that last bit I just wanted to bring up. But in terms of which one's better, I'd go with the old one, mostly because they have more character to them. The old wins. The next is the comedy. Both these movies have pretty good comedy, but each almost have a different take on it. The old one has slapstick, but the new one has more slapstick. Both Roger and Anita fell in the pond together after Pongo ties them up in the old, But in the new, Roger and Anita fall into the pond at different times due to the dogs going after each other. But as for Jasper and Horace, in the old, they hit each other in the head, get kicked by the horse, etc. But in the new, it's mostly the Home Alone style of slapstick, which is very ironic since John Hughes wrote and produced this film. Close call, but I go with the old one, in that the slapstick's more fun when it's animated.
The old wins. And finally, the movie as a whole.
Both are based on the book The 101 Dalmatians by Dudley Smith, but they both present the plot at a slightly different take, outside of one being animated and the other being live action. While they both present the story in the same manner, the one big difference is the climax. In the old, the Dalmatians cover themselves in soot to hop aboard a truck heading for London, and Cruella finds out, chases after them, and gets knocked over by Jasper and Horace. But in the new, Jasper and Horace get arrested after being outsmarted by the animals, and Cruella gets all messed up and dirty by the animals, only to be arrested later. What a downgrade. But figuring out which one I like is kind of tricky. The old one has a fun climax of a car chase, has a simple and easy story to follow, and has a good art style. Yet the new one has an uneventful climax, but follows the original good while adding more stuff to it. But for me, I find the new one to be okay. I do like all the extra bits added, in that they are improvements from the old. Yet the animals and climax don't feel right. It's fun to see the henchmen get beat than Cruella, and if the animals talk like what was done in Homeward Bound, it would have been slightly better.
But on the other hand, that might be distracting.
So yeah, it's a close call, but I'm going with the old, mostly for the animals and comedy, and a little bit of the villains, and it's more memorable and simple.
The old wins. So the all-round winner is the old one. And I like the new one okay, but the old one's a little better. So thank you for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Facebook or Twitter, and tune in next Wednesday for a new video.